Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Vinland Saga. Last time around we had Awakening, where basically we had a confrontation between Thorfinn and Einar about Thorfinn being a warrior. And it was something. It was certainly something. Einar almost strangled Thorfinn in his sleep. Thorfinn was having his nightmare. Einar decided not to strangle him. And then when Thorfinn did wake up, he asked, why do you wake me up, And Einar basically gave him the message of, you say that you have nothing to live for, that nothing good has ever happened in your life. But the reason you're alive is because people, made sure you lived, So, so essentially, live for the people who cannot live anymore. So it was an interesting thing. And then at the end, we got a tease, I believe, of our good old pal Prince Canute, who may or may not have sold Thorfinn into slavery. It depends. I don't know. See, I don't know if Canute would have done that or if he would have just exiled Thorfinn. I don't know. We don't know what happened. We do not know. Maybe today we'll find out. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of Vinland Saga. Here we go. Alrighty. 4 years. It's been 4 years since the end of Season 1 and the death of Askeladd. Now we know. Thorfinn has been away from this for 4 years. Alternatively, this episode is a way to time jump Thorfinn's own plotline. That could be. I mean, I don't know. I guess we don't know. At what point have we been watching Thorfinn as a slave? Like, how long has it been for him? We still don't fully know because we don't know what happened to him, but... Oh, good old Canute episode. Canute the Poisoner. What a fascinating development. But, I mean, I guess it makes sense, I mean, he has to take so many things into account, He takes into account... Again, it did take them 10 years to conquer England the first time, 10 years, and it was pretty bad. It took 10 years to conquer it, and then they couldn't keep a hold of it, Granted, I guess it's just because... King Sweyn died. I think that's how you're supposed to say it. Or Swen, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so after he died, everything became destabilized. Ethelred came out of exile to become king. Honestly, because right now I'm watching the newest season of House of the Dragon, I've also been rewatching Game of Thrones stuff. This episode kind of scratched that itch I've had for a little bit, where I've been rewatching Game of Thrones and stuff, and I'm like, man, it used to be so good and so great and everything, before the dark times. And House of the Dragon is really good. I gotta say, this just kind of gave me everything I like out of that, And I mean, look, I gotta say, because with Canute, being a poisoner and, going for this unorthodox method of defeating his enemies, and, with some of his viewpoints, honestly, I can't help but think in the back of my head, he's a lot like Daenerys. Again, before the dark times, before the final season of Game of Thrones. Good grief. Who knows, though? Maybe that'll happen to him. I hope not. I hope not, because that shouldn't have happened to Daenerys. So... But I mean, just the whole thing of, like, you know, just him forbidding them from taking girls, raping, and then selling them for money. Like, he forbade that specifically. Which is interesting. That's an interesting thing. Like, it makes me believe that perhaps it wasn't him. Like, maybe someone else, you know, maybe Floki sold Thorfinn into slavery, or maybe Thorfinn just got captured, you know? He hasn't had the will to live in so long that maybe he just didn't resist. I don't know. We still don't know. But it's an interesting thing, like there's a difference for Canute. There's a difference between the spoils of war and the spoils of humans. Like, he doesn't want them to be a part of the slave trade, you know? He does not want that at all. I don't think he's against, like, the gold or anything. It's just the slave trade, which is interesting. But yeah. And then, just on top of that, it makes sense that Thorkel is pissed. Like, you know, this is a different thing, you know, where... I mean, if anything, that's also very Game of Thrones, where, like, you know, the previous war that we had was a war, you know? You go in, you fight battles, you know, you have Thorkel, who was on the English side, face Askeladd and Thorfinn, and even Floki, and it's the same as, funny enough, it's the same as, you know, Robert Baratheon going out and defeating Rhaegar in battle, you know? Gods, I was strong then. Anyway. But now, like with Game of Thrones, where, like, the current war, like, yes, there are battles, don't get me wrong, there are battles, but there's a lot more deception, you know? Like all of the kings, the War of the Five Kings, were any of them actually killed in a battle? Like, one of them was, technically. All the others were, like, backstabbed and poisoned and killed by weird baby monster things. Let's not get into that. If you've never seen Game of Thrones, I don't want to spoil things for you. And I can't explain that last one in anyway. So, ironically, I'm wearing my Game of Thrones shirt today. So, but that wasn't planned. This was just, you know, I always wear black. I always wear black in these videos just because I think they look better on camera. So I always wear black in videos, and this was just the one that was on top. So, anywho, but it is kind of like that, where it's like, you know, here, the tactics of war have already changed, you know? Like, in order to, you know, not drag this out, pretty much, Canute has to change things up. And it's basically like, look, all of this happened because the king of Denmark died, you know? Or because he was killed, really. So, if all that destabilization happens because a king is gone, which also happens in Game of Thrones, then you have to root out, you know, Canute's looking at this like, then I will have to root out the king. So he gets rid of Ethelred, and then, you know, unlike some kings in Game of Thrones, he had an heir. He had his son, Edmund. So, root him out. He also died of an illness, apparently, you know? So it's really interesting. Now, Thorkel is not happy about this because, which mainly just, like, he wants war. He wants the battle. And right now, he hates Canute because of it, you know? Because Canute, you know, like, it's a difference of, like, you know, Thorkel is like a bear. He's a big bear, basically. And he wants to go out there and hunt and kill his prey. But Canute, if anything, is just a snake, you know? Canute is a snake now. He's a poisoner. He goes, you know, injects someone with their venom. They die, and then he feasts, you know? Like, it's not what Thorkel wants. Thorkel, being a giant beast, wants to face another giant beast, Like, he wants to face, like Thorfinn even. Small guy, sure, but he is, he was a beast. He was, you could even just say he's a lion. He had the mane for it anyway. So, but he does not approve of Canute the Viper, so, which is ironic because we already have another character in this season named Snake, so there's too many snakes going on. This is the season of snakes. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. And, I do like that moment of just, lighting the bonfire and just seeing all of those other bonfires light up at the same time. And just seeing, like, look, at a moment's notice, I could burn all of Mercia, Like, I could get rid of it, burn all of you to the ground, it would still be mine, but I would burn all of you to the ground, and then I would move on, It's like, or we can avoid this, We can avoid this part of the war, and, Mercia will still be a fertile land, maybe after a little while. Might take a little bit, but it can still be a fertile land, and prosperous and, habitable by humans. But you have to do what I want you to do, and what I want you to do is kill Ethelred. So it's interesting that they start by showing the first attempt on him, and then, like, you see the first attempt on him that doesn't work, and then you start seeing how Canute put that into action, and then you see it work, Like, you start to understand why Canute did this, and that Canute did it at all, because you don't even know at that first scene, so that's really good. And so, yeah, 4 years since the end of season 1, and now Canute is the king of England. And he's got a beard, and he looks cool. Oh, boy. So, just a really good episode, after 4 episodes of, the whole slave plot with Thorfinn, which has all been great. It's like, it's good to get some extra context, basically, of what all has happened. So, where will this go? I'm curious, because, see, it's a thing of, like, we've been saying, like, well, we can't follow these characters anymore because Thorfinn's not there. And now we've broken that mold, and that's fine. But it does make me wonder, okay, this has to affect Thorfinn, though, right? Like, eventually this will have to affect Thorfinn, whatever's happening with Canute, because I like, otherwise it would be the opposite of Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones was multiple storylines that eventually converged at the end, for better or for worse, mostly for worse, whereas this would be, it'd be an interesting idea to have it be one story that then splits into 2 stories, but I have to assume those stories will eventually converge again, so I don't know. It's a long season, so we got time, definitely. But yeah, really, really great stuff, and I'm excited to see where we are going next time. But that is basically it. With all of that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Vinland Saga reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.